It's undeniable that one of the best mobile games of all time is Subway Surfers. Created by Saibo in 2012, Subway Surfers is the most downloaded mobile game in the world at 4 billion downloads and still has an active player base around the millions. And with new updates that introduce new characters and maps coming out every month, it's no surprise why. But what if I told you that this game actually had a sequel? Meet Blades of Brim. Blades of Brim is the forgotten younger brother of Subway Surfers. And while on the surface it doesn't look like a direct sequel since it follows an entirely new cast and world, it technically is, as it takes the original formula and completely expands on it, adding more features and new ideas to the table, like RPG combat, boss fights, and more. So in essence, it should have been better than, or at least just as successful as its predecessor, right? Well, sort of. Blades of Brim on its release was also a huge success as its new features made it less repetitive and fun, but then something happened, and it was completely forgotten, never to be heard from again. But why? Well, after some digging, I found something pretty interesting. Turns out Blades of Brim was doomed to fail despite its strong start. So today, I'll be breaking down what caused Blades of Brim's downfall and how one update changed everything. But before that, first we need to look back and understand what made these games so popular in the first place. The year was 2012. Mobile games were starting to evolve, no longer just simple pixels moving on a screen, but fully fleshed out games that utilized the touchscreen capabilities of a phone, that at the time only Nintendo were able to do with the Nintendo DS. Infinite runner games like the newly released Subway Surfers were on the rise. Unlike Temple Run, the game it's based from, there were multiple characters to unlock, unique power-ups to spice up the gameplay, and an appealing art style that made it loved by kids and adults alike. And by early 2013, Subway Surfers had reached roughly 2.6.5 million active players, making it the second most downloaded game just under Candy Crush. So, with the success the game brought, Saibo decided to expand its audience even more. And by May 22 of 2015, Saibo would release a trailer for their next big game, Blades of Brim. Being its spiritual successor, it follows an expansive RPG world where you play as one of the 6 heroes of Brim and set out on a quest across 7 different realms to defeat the Goon Lord. Upon its release, it garnered praise all around for being a refreshing take on the genre due to its many features it introduced. The game is no longer restricted by 3 lanes, and you can now wall run to avoid enemies or reach higher vantage points, giving you more freedom to explore and choose your own path. Along the way, you'll come across goons of the Goon Lord. Sure, they might look weak, but some have armor and some can fly, and it'll only take 3 hits before you're down. But the game does provide you with a plethora of equipment and mounts for your adventure, all of which have unique abilities that are determined by their rarity. These elements blend together to make a truly RPG-inspired like runner, and the game would be mostly praised with an average of 4.5 stars throughout the board. But under the surface, Blades of Brim had problems. Due to it being more complex than the more simplistic Subway Surfers, it resulted in more bugs and glitches. Unfortunate players would end up flipping out of the world, getting random freezes, or sometimes not being able to play the game at all. This could actually be the reason for the second main problem the game had, which was the lack of an Android version on launch. Having no Android version meant it greatly reduced the potential audience the game had, as there were many Android players who wanted to give it a try. It got to a point where some of the updates were just dedicated bug fixes. But the real turning point for Brim wouldn't come until December 2015, where Saibo would release the infamous Coldest Ice update that completely changed the game. So far, what I said about the game was from what the game is like now, but it used to be very different. Enemies were leveled, loot can be saved only through checkpoints, and health was rechargeable. All of these features were scrapped in favor of some new mechanics and changes that some players disliked. They also made it grindier by nerfing loot. Orbs dropped less frequently, and now quests were restricted to 1 at a time. This soured many players' experience of the game, and they started leaving one by one. To make matters even worse for the game, Saibo still had to work on their golden child, so support for them was very little. A year would pass, and they tried to win back some of the fans by introducing new updates that added new characters and events, fixed a couple of bugs, reverted some of the changes they made to loot drops, and also finally introduced the long-awaited Android version. But too little, too late. So Saibo had to eventually cut their ties to Brim. By November 2016, they officially announced that they had no plans for future updates, with the last one being the Touch of Magic update just a month prior to their post, which was the end of Blades of Brim. That'll be it for this video. Thanks for watching. Sorry if this video seemed rushed. I wanted to make this video a bit longer and a bit more edited, but I'll get into the reason why in the yearly update video coming out in a couple of days. So I hope to see you there, and until next time, take care.